Napoleon had three options left: retreat, try to negotiate with the Tsar, or push further north toward St. Petersburg. He chose negotiation. Tsar Alexander I simply ignored all three peace proposals. He didn't respond to a single one. Napoleon decides to retreat. And now the roles reverse. The mouse chases the cat as it retreats in panic, finishing off Napoleon's exhausted and freezing army piece by piece. Of the 600,000 soldiers in the Grande Armée, only about 10% made it back to France. One of the most humiliating military failures in history, caused by overconfidence and a reckless underestimation of the enemy. A drawn-out, exhausting war between the Trojans and the Danaans, one that had ostensibly begun over a woman, ended even more absurdly with the complete humiliation of Troy. The Danaans quickly advanced on the fortress of Troy with a massive army and launched an aggressive siege. It seemed like a done deal, just a matter of time, except it dragged on for years. That's how good Troy was at defense. After 10 years of failed attempts to breach Troy's fortress walls, the Danaan army of Achaia pretends to give up. The ships turn around, supplies are packed, and within a day, the shoreline that had served as a base of attack for years is nearly empty. The fleet disappears beyond the horizon. All that remains on the beach is a massive wooden horse with an inscription. This gift is offered to Athena the warrior by the departing Danaans. Everything looks exactly like an army that failed to break through and simply walked away. The horse, a gesture of respect. The surprised Trojans celebrate their victory and quickly organize a feast, dragging the horse inside the city walls as a trophy. The Trojan priest Laocoon tries to warn them, knowing how devious the Danaans can be. He shouts that they should not be trusted, even when bearing gifts, that they should not even go near the horse. But no one is listening anymore. Everyone is blinded by flattery and the urge to celebrate. Closer to dawn, when everyone has drunk themselves to sleep, panels in the sides of the horse open. 20 of the Danaan's best warriors climb out. The ships, which had only sailed just out of sight, are already returning under the cover of darkness. The infiltrators quickly open every entrance to the fortress, and within hours, the Danaan army takes the city with little resistance. 10 years of flawless defense collapsed in a single night. A vivid example of how intelligence and creativity can exploit a loss of vigilance and excessive arrogance to solve a complex, seemingly hopeless problem. The Danaans did not come up with the horse out of nowhere. The idea belonged to Odysseus, a man who spent the entire war being underestimated because he was not the strongest, not the fastest, and not the most decorated fighter on the field. Achilles had raw power. Ajax had size. Odysseus had none of that. What he had was the ability to watch and think. For 10 years, he observed how the Trojans thought and what they feared. And when the time came, he did not design a weapon. He designed a compliment, a tribute to Athena, left on the beach by a defeated army. It was perfectly crafted, not to fool idiots, but to fool proud, intelligent people who had earned the right to feel superior. That is what makes the Trojan horse so unsettling even today. It was not aimed at the weak. It was aimed precisely at the strong, at people whose only real vulnerability was the absolute certainty that they had no vulnerabilities at all. Almost every empire that has ever fallen since has, in one way or another, dragged its own wooden horse through the gates, convinced it was a trophy. Throughout the war, the Danaans showed a level of adaptability that the Trojans never matched. They built an entire fortified camp on a foreign shore. They managed logistics across open sea with no permanent port and no allied territory within reach. When Achilles refused to fight, they restructured their entire command and kept going. In the end, the side that kept thinking outlasted the side that stopped.